Hello and welcome to the Road to E3 2016 Top 5 Things We Expect to See show, brought to you by Cinelinx.com. And today we have Eric Gibbs, the Father Gamer Podcast.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, and then we also have Jordan Mason, the editor-in-chief of Cinelinx.com.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
And I am Matt. So let's talk, because we're about a month away from E3 2016. All right, so let's just start off. We're going to go with a countdown, and there's going to be a lot that we're going to talk about here. So let's start with number 5, Ni no Kuni 2. And I'm just going to go out there and say it. When we made this list, I actually did not know anything about Ni no Kuni 2 because I have not played that series before.
Oh, the unclean.
I know. Forever unclean.
Yeah. If I had known this about you, I don't know that we'd be friends.
No.
They revealed Ni no Kuni 2 back in December, the PlayStation experience.
Right.
And I can't tell you how excited I was. I was a huge fan of the first Ni no Kuni game. And so I picked it up on a whim, and man, it hooked me. I mean, it just has such an appeal within the first 5 minutes. And I think I played this game, oh gosh, I'd hit it about 80 hours.
That's...
In like maybe, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks. I mean, I couldn't stop playing.
It's a beautiful game, the first one. And the fact that Studio Ghibli and Level 5, I mean, some of those games that they've made are amazing, but you have all the artwork and the assets from Studio Ghibli was an amazing thing. It felt like it on the PS3. It felt like a real animated game, like something I hadn't seen before, other than maybe Wind Waker or something like that.
Well, I would say it was even a step above that. I mean, it really was.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like playing a cartoon, and the story was amazing to go with it. So you had the great story, the great visuals, and then the gameplay was just out of bounds. It was a combination of, Pokemon, because you're collecting all these different creatures that you find. You're basically capturing them, and you have them fight with you. But battles were so interesting because you could rotate out with different monsters, different members of your, party and stuff like that, and they had different monsters. So you had all these different factors going into a single battle.
That's definitely what made it different, is the combat. Other than a lot of JRPGs, the combat was actually fun.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was so fun that the grind never bugged you.
No.
I never even thought of it as grinding. I was having so much fun because it was a lot like, how Pokemon does it. It gets you sucked into the collecting aspect that you don't realize you're grinding. It really blew me away, and I remember, I think it came out in like a January, February? It came out early.
It was early in the year.
It was early in the year, and I remember, like, as soon as I finished it, I messaged my friend. I was like, is it too early to call Game of the Year on this one?
Might be a little bit.
Yeah, and I was kind of bummed because, I mean, that game took a long time to make. And it was a huge, massive game. And my first thought was like, it's going to be forever until I get another one. So I was ecstatic when they revealed the trailer, back in December. And ever since then, it's been quiet. We haven't heard anything about it. That's why I have a strong feeling, and from what I've heard and others have heard, I would expect to see Revenant Kingdom make an appearance here at E3 this year. Probably a gameplay trailer, I'm hoping.
Maybe it'll even be on the floor. But where would it be on the floor, though?
Sony.
That's a Sony game. I mean, it only came out for the PlayStation 3, right?
Right. And I think if I remember right, it was a PlayStation Plus game at one point as well. So.
Oh yes, it was.
So I could see those ties.
Oh yeah, I mean, because there's only so many things that I can think of that Sony will even have. So something that would be an exclusive like this, that has a major following, like what you're saying, despite the fact that I'm inept and have never played it.
Some people are just broken.
Some people are, it's horrible. But I can imagine that during the press conference, that's going to be one of their big shockers, just like how Last Guardian was last year.
Yeah,
Right.
I could see that. I could see them. I mean, it's a JRPG, but it still feels like a big gun to be wielding. And you know, if they come out with a gameplay trailer or something like that, I think they could really blow a lot of people away.
I mean, from what you've said and about how we've already gotten word that it's coming out and everything like that, I would expect more than just a gameplay trailer. You know, a gameplay trailer and something on the floor for people to be checking out because, you know, this is a game that probably, if it's revealed at E3 like we're thinking it's going to be, I could expect this game to be coming out 2017, like early 2017 or even holiday season 2016.
I mean, don't tease me. I would be so down for it to be a holiday 2016 title. I have a strong feeling it's not. Just because these type of games always seem to get delayed because they're so big.
The first one was delayed a couple times as well, so
yeah,
it's kind of like a Zelda thing.
Well, maybe not that many times, but
yeah, Zelda's very different. I mean, we can get into a whole thing about Zelda and Nintendo, but we will leave that for later. So the next game coming in at number 4 is actually the 4th installment of the God of War franchise. We recently got a leak that they were going to get away from the Greek mythology, and now we're going into Viking times with God of War and Kratos, and I'm so excited for this game. But, I mean, with this leak coming out and all the screenshots and the art that we saw, I mean, we can expect that they're at least going to show us something during E3 2016.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, what was the last game that came out? Ascension.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, meh.
Yeah, and it kind of fizzled, and I think people just weren't as excited about it as they once were because it was just more of the same. You know,
yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do because after God of War 3, I mean, you pretty much just Kratos kills everybody. So what can you really do?
That was a subtitle.
You can't even have another prequel, like a prequel, because whatever, we already had a prequel with God of War 1. We don't need anything else.
Yeah, and all the freaking handhelds as well. So
and the handhelds were good.
Yeah, they
what
were.
They were. I mean, they were really good. But the problem is, that's all the same territory, and Ascension really didn't do anything different.
No.
I like going into the Norse mythology because there's so much they can do story-wise. I mean, you could make the argument that Norse mythology is even richer than Greek mythology.
Take that back. You can just stop right now. We're just going to go ahead and cut you off and just end this entire thing with because that is sacrilegious.
Not at all.
We have some Greek bias on here.
You have a little Celtic bias over here too, so you're good.
Well,
that's going to be God of War 10 is the Celtic one. We'll get there.
The biggest problem is why are we using Kratos at this point?
Yeah, it just seems weird. I mean, I understand it on a purely financial and for people to recognize the character,
branding.
But
all I know is they better explain it. What made the actual numbered God of War game so good and special was the stories. The stories were really strong and solid, and so I think that was part of Ascension's biggest problem is you just didn't care.
No.
So if they're going to do a God of War 4 and go into a whole different kind of mythology but keeping the same character, I really want there to be a solid story-based reason for it.
I hope we do get to see something about it because I'm really curious now.
Well, I'm sure we'll see something.
Well, I'm sure we'll see something too. But even if it's just the leaked sketch art that we saw before, I think they might be able to put some sort of game trailer together, more of a teaser than anything.
I would be surprised if we didn't get an announcement trailer.
Sure, yeah,
of some form, and then probably not much more. I would bet that it'd be like with what was it, Horizon Zero Dawn?
Yes.
You get that awesome announcement trailer, then it's like, now we got nothing else for you right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could totally see that.
Verily, I am Kratos thin. It's just over.
But I love this idea, though, that they're not going to stay in one mythological theme. They're not going to just stay with Greek mythology. They're not going to just stay with Norse. I mean, with this, they can go anywhere.
Anywhere. Which is great, and they probably should have done it 2 games ago.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, here's the thing as well with God of War. The other reason I'm so sure about getting an announcement trailer, despite how well received Sony's presentation was last year, people realized pretty quickly they didn't really show a whole lot.
They didn't have anything.
They didn't have anything to show. And even though what they showed, they ended with the Final Fantasy VII remake, and everybody lost their minds and they forgot about everything else.
Yes.
I think this year they're going to have to come out guns blazing.
Yeah.
And, we already talked about Ni no Kuni 2 being an exclusive, and God of War 4 would obviously be an exclusive. I mean, these would be things that they would want to bring out and show that, look, yes, we still have lots of good games.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point that you make, because you're right. Last year, I mean, when Eric and I were there, we heard everyone say that Xbox won. That's just who won, because they had more to show. They had more release dates of that year, because all PS4 showed was future stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this will come out in 2017. Oh, this will come out, whenever. Like, we don't know when this will come out. Or they brought in stuff from other people's press conferences, like Square Enix or other stuff or even EA, like Star Wars. They showed that one at their press conference. So they didn't have a whole lot.
Yeah.
So that was definitely the difference when you got on the floor. I mean, if you got to Xbox, there was so much that was playable.
Yes.
And PlayStation kind of felt empty.
Yeah, you're right, because I feel like they tried to stem everything more towards Morpheus, because that was where the lines were.
Right.
I mean, Eric and I were able to go over and walk through the Sony area at ease, because there was nothing going on.
I mean, even Nintendo had more, and they didn't show as much as either one of them, and they had more stuff on the floor.
Yeah.
So
I think this year will be different.
So, all right, that brings us to number 3. And what we're expecting this year is a new Star Wars game of some sort. So this is more of a, what new Star Wars game do you expect to come out?
Of the 6 studios making Star Wars games.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just the other day we heard, Respawn Entertainment, who made Titanfall, and, of course, Titanfall 2, which I'm sure will also be at the show.
Yes.
Right.
We got the announcement that they're working with EA on a specific Star Wars title. But the really interesting thing about that press announcement was they announced that several other studios, some of which we already knew or guessed, but they specifically named 6 different studios that are currently working on Star Wars games. That's a lot of games to know nothing about.
Oh, I know.
At this point. All we've heard for the last 3 years has been Battlefront, and that's it. So they can't go into this E3 with more Battlefront. I'm sure we'll see some of the upcoming DLC expansions that are coming. I'm sure they'll show those off for Battlefront, but they've got to bring one of those 5 or 6 other Star Wars games to bat. I'd really love to see what BioWare's working on. I would love to see what Visceral... I mean, the only other game we knew about, for sure, besides Battlefront, was Visceral was working on some action game. And we've known about that for at least the last 2 years as well, and we've heard nothing about that. We've heard hints and teases about it being a Han Solo game.
I think that'll be the one we see.
I hope we see something. I mean, I would, with this many games in the development, I don't see why they wouldn't show us 2 or 3 of them. I mean, I could kind of see why. Everything with Star Wars right now is being played very close to the chest. But that's a game they can only play for so long. With this many movies in development, they got shows and all that stuff. At some point, they have to loosen their grip and tell people about, especially in the gaming realm.
Yeah.
Star Wars gamers have been very deprived lately. We need something, and I'm sure I know they'll show something. I just don't know what.
Well, I mean, yeah, if anybody would know that Star Wars gamers have been deprived, it would be you. I mean, you've been talking to all the old Star Wars game developers, and I mean the articles, the exclusives that you've had about games that they were going to play have rocked the entire nerd video game community, because it's what, we could have played this?
Yeah.
What?
That's what was so fun about doing some of those interviews and finding out about these games is realizing how hungry Star Wars fans are for new games.
Is the Han Solo game, is that the one by Amy Hennig is writing from Uncharted? Yeah.
Supposedly. That's
See,
the
that would be
visceral
amazing.
game. They've got to do something. Even if it's not trailers, we need logos, title
Now-
treatment, something.
It's and to your point about how, they've kept everything close to the vest. You're right. I mean, the only thing though that we do know is the movies. We know the movies that are going to be coming out. We don't know all of them because obviously there's a big, like, really long-term plan that they have.
Yeah.
And we don't know everything. But at the same time, it would be nice if they would tell us so that way we have something to look forward to. But I get why they don't. You look at all the games that they had previously that they had announced that were going to come out, that they had thought about, and then they never came out. So it's like almost like a tease that they don't want to give to everybody because they don't want it to just, people to get their hopes up and for it to just never appear.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look at how Disney's handled the license so far, they like to really fill in the holes of their new canon, and these games, I hope, are some of those holes. So I can see where they would be a little nervous to show something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see
If
that,
it's-
giving away other secrets
Yeah.
in the revealing. But at the same time,
Yeah, we want to see.
you've got to show something. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't have the confidence right now after Battlefront. It looks good. It's just people aren't still playing it. They don't see as
Right.
much value in it as they initially did. Anyway, let's keep moving. Cause
We could go on to the Star
yeah.
Wars all day long. But there's another game that falls into our number 2 spot for what to expect is Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, this is the new division where it's a game that is just a series of trailers that we are never going to actually believe is going to come out until finally it just actually comes out.
Final Fantasy 15, a game that we also never thought would come out, now has a release date.
Thank God.
Just a couple months after E3.
Right.
It's time for Kingdom Hearts 3. We've seen trailers for it. They've even shown some gameplay of it at other events.
They've shown a lot of gameplay for
Yeah,
it.
they have.
And they've even announced Star Wars stuff for it.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff.
I think now, this year, is perfect timing for it, with Final Fantasy 15 having its own event just, the other month, and getting a release date and all that stuff. This feels like this is a great time to finally say, here's what's going on with Kingdom Hearts 3. I would love to see a release date. I'm not going to pin all my hopes on it, but I'm sure we'll see something.
If
Something
we
more
got a release
substantial.
date for Kingdom Hearts 3, I feel like E3 2016 would be broken. Like, it's just, that's it. It's done.
Oh,
whatever. Let's go home. We got our information. We are good now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I could see Square thinking, look, we've talked up, and they will. They're going to talk up Final Fantasy 15.
Yes.
They'll probably bring out something for their Final Fantasy 7 remake. But, man, Kingdom Hearts 3's got to have something. They've shown a lot of gameplay. They've shown trailers. I mean, it's got to be somewhere fairly close to a release window. At the very least, give us a trailer at the very end that says spring 2017 or, whatever it is.
Yeah, that alone would make people lose their minds.
Yeah, and I think that it's entirely feasible.
If you look at, they just released the mobile Kingdom Hearts game as well.
Yes.
And they generally like to coincide that within a window of a console or PC version of a game. So I can see that it being within that window.
Yeah, and all the others are now available as remastered versions too.
Right.
So all the old games are available to play and get people caught up. So it's a good time.
So you can be nice and confused like the rest of us that have played it.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
All right, so this brings us now to our number 1. But we're going to hold off on the number 1. And instead, we're going to hit just really quickly the other games that we expect to make it, but that didn't make the list. Okay, so let's start off with The Last Guardian. All right, so that is a game that came out. They had finally released something last year for The Last Guardian, and I mean, you have to expect that they're going to release or announce something more about the game.
They said 2016 on their trailer last year, so it'll probably be 2019 at this point.
That's exactly, yeah. So then the next game, Telltale. I mean, we know Telltale's going to release a lot of stuff, or at least announce a lot during
Well,
E3.
at South by Southwest, they had a little tease on the Batman
Yeah.
game coming out. I know there's another Walking Dead, and there's a Marvel game as well coming out.
Yeah.
I would expect a full trailer for Batman
hmm
and at least updates on the others.
Well, I definitely know Telltale is going to be there, so
Then we got Recore.
Yep. And that was another one from last year.
Yeah, we saw that last year with an awesome, very intriguing trailer, and then nothing. Haven't heard a peep since then. So that would be nice.
That was a really cool trailer too. Like it was that cinematic kind of movie trailer that they showed,
it
but
looked unique, and I want to know more. We just didn't get more. So
there was nothing, absolutely
we
nothing else. Yeah, I think Xbox is definitely going to show some sort of gameplay trailer. Like maybe not necessarily anything more than that. And then moving on to Ubisoft, because we know that there's not going to be an Assassin's Creed game released this year. They've already said it. They're kind of going the biannual route. But we expect that they're going to release something, just at least like a trailer, just cinematic trailer, something for Assassin's Creed Empire. Now, we don't necessarily know for sure that that's the title of it. That's kind of the code name at the moment. But we really think that there's a strong feeling that that's going to be the name of it and that they're going to go the Egyptian route, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Then we got Ubisoft is doing For Honor, right?
Yeah, so we just talked about God of War and Vikings. I mean, man, For Honor.
Yeah, that
looks killer.
Serious RPG. It blew us away last year at E3. Another RPG, South Park, Fractured Hole. I don't even like South Park. I know it's crazy. I don't. But I love The Stick of Truth. That was one of my favorite RPGs. And I played it and I beat it in like 3 days. It was so fun. I couldn't stop playing. It would be nice to get a good full gameplay trailer this year. Maybe even a release date.
I bet we'll get a release date.
Now, I just a second ago talked about Watch Dogs 2. I mean, that's one that we're expecting.
Yeah.
The first one, it was okay. I think it was very much compared to Grand Theft Auto in a way, and it couldn't necessarily live up to that.
Yeah.
The storyline was kind of sketchy at times, but I'm really hoping that with Watch Dogs 2, they have fixed all those other problems and we can finally get a better overall storyline.
Speaking of 2, we'll also have Titanfall 2, which we already know because they announced it with a quick little teaser trailer, and they even said look for more at E3.
You did.
So we know
that was the antithesis of a freaking teaser. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
It had a big sword. What do you?
That's it. Like I just see the mech leg and some pod and a sword.
Well,
I'm like, I don't even care. Like, that does not make me care about that game.
It was also almost as long as the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
But we'll see that there. And then my favorite, the one I'm looking forward to most right now, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, man. That is another game that you're right. That one probably has been more quiet than anybody else.
Well, we know that it got delayed.
Yes.
Into 2017, which really broke my heart because I was really looking forward to Zero Dawn this year. It blew the roof off at E3 last year, and everybody was impressed by what they saw.
It looks incredible.
It does. It looks incredible. So I would hope, since they gave it a delay, that this year this E3 we get an actual firm release date on top of another gorgeous trailer. Give me a release date.
Yeah. As far as delays are concerned, I mean, we know that it happens. I mean, it's been happening more excessively than it did in the past. Because a lot of the times these studios, they needed to like get it out right by that release date. You have to have it on time.
Yep.
But, you look at games like Uncharted, Horizon Zero Dawn, all these other ones, I'm okay with it. Now, speaking of delays, this game is absolutely no stranger to delays. And this is The Legend of Zelda Wii U or NX. Because it's the only thing that Nintendo will have at the show, and that is confirmed.
Like, they even said that they're not doing their normal Nintendo Direct E3. They're Nintendo thing is going to be a live stream of Legend of Zelda, which is fine, I guess.
We can go into a whole thing about Nintendo, but let's just focus on the Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, but
because they've even said that the booth is going to be Zelda themed.
Well, if you look at, was it 2005 was Twilight Princess? I think
it's been a while. Yeah, I believe so.
They completely Zelda-ized their booth for that, and this sounds like it's very similar. Like there was, each level had a different, each area of the show floor had a different level, and I have a feeling that's what they're going to be doing, pretty much similar.
You know that we are going to be in line from like the day that the doors open.
And it's going to be packed every single day, and I don't doubt that. But the problem is that people are already worried about Nintendo, and they're not giving us a lot to go on. But anyway, that's going to get into too big a topic. We're going to see Legend of Zelda. Hopefully, if it gets a subtitle, we'll hear that too. I hate calling it Legend of Zelda Wii U. It would be nice to have some subtitle.
I'm pretty sure it's Patiently Waiting is the subtitle.
It's
yes. Yeah.
So those were our quick hits for games that we expect to see during E3 2016. But now this brings us to the number one most expected title. It's Mass Effect Andromeda.
There's no doubts that Mass Effect Andromeda is going to be there. Hell, we learned the title last year at E3. Yes. But man, BioWare has been doing a ton of work on Mass Effect. It's now 2 years out since Dragon Age released, and they were working on it even before Dragon Age Inquisition released. They've been working on it for a long time.
1 to 2 years. I think it was like kind of leaked at E3. It was about 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, they've been working on it forever. And we know that this one also got pushed into 2017. They're saying early 2017, like maybe March-ish.
Second Christmas, yeah.
Which means they've got to show us some story.
Yeah, this is their chance right now.
BioWare
and Gamescom. These are their two chances to do that.
And BioWare always brings the goods when it comes to story trailers. They have incredible cinematic story trailers, which so far, Mass Effect Andromeda has not been given. We've mostly just seen alpha footage and some minor stuff like that.
Or a guy walking over to a cliff and just seeing like the sun.
E3 2016, this is the time to give us the big cinematic trailer that gives us the plot info, introduces us to some of the new characters and the ideas we're going to be going into, and maybe, please God, give us a release date.
Yes. Just a firm release date, not just May 2017 or whatever you have.
Yeah.
I want a firm one.
I want numbers across the board.
Because, they had some problems with people leaving, and that caused delays to the entire project.
A lot of people leaving.
Yeah. So much to the point that Eric thought that EA was selling. But, so that led to a lot of, skepticism about the game. So it seems like they're on track for next year. So you're right. This has to be the time that they give us something.
If you remember the debut trailers, like story trailers for Mass Effect 3, they blew everyone away. They were like little mini movies.
Yeah.
And they were just so powerful. And it let you know what the story was about. And I really want something like that for Andromeda. It's just time. If you're expecting to launch early in 2017, it's time to finally show something.
I just what I want them to do is I want them to start the press conference not with Mass Effect. End it with Mass Effect. Keep us invested.
The
way they built it last year was awful.
Oh, yeah. If they start with Mass Effect, I'm not going to be able to think about anything else.
Yeah, and that was the main problem of EA last year was they started with Mass Effect, and we're like, oh my god, this is so cool. We're seeing some specs, we're seeing some art, we're seeing, a trailer. Oh my god, Mass Effect Andromeda. Oh, it could come out this, certain year.
Yeah, no.
But then next one was, I don't even remember what the next one was, but let's say it's sports. I'm a big sports gaming fan, we know this. I'm like the aficionado on Cinelinx, but even I was like, I don't even care. Really? Just give us more Mass Effect. I know the cover guy for NFL. Whatever. Fine. Just come on.
Yeah.
Any
Star Wars thing. Well, any Star Wars thing they show is not going to come out this year. More than likely, isn't going to come out this year.
Really, that's just more for pop. You would only show the Star Wars for pop. You want Mass Effect for the sizzle.
I love your analogies.
Thank
Now
you.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been our Road to E3 2016 top 5 things we expect to see. We want to know your list. So please just go ahead on the comment section. Let us know what top 5 you expect to see during E3 2016.
And if you enjoyed tonight's episode of Road to E3, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Road to E3 2016 top 5 things we expect to see. And join us again for our next Road to E3 2016 show. We'll catch you next time.